Are you coming to Paris for the first time? Then you need to know these 30 essential things about the city. Hi, I'm Lynn, and it took me a while to master how Paris works when I moved here 7 years ago. These 9 minutes are gonna spare you a lot of confusions and maybe even some embarrassing situations. Let's go. The language here is French. Not all Parisians speak English and you shouldn't expect them to. So learning a few basic words is not only polite, it will also get your interactions with the French off on the right foot. So when you first meet a French person, whether it's in a restaurant, in the street, or a salesperson, it's important to say bonjour, which means hello, and also important words for you to know are thank you, which are merci in French, or parlez-vous anglais, do you speak English, so that they understand that you don't speak the language and then they'll try to help you with the English, but it's a polite way to start a conversation. This is a French plug, so if you come from North America or the UK, you're gonna need an adapter. Make sure you get one from there, or else you can go to these tech shops or small shops near touristic areas and you can find an adapter for your chargers. The official drinking age is 18, but this isn't strictly enforced, except at supermarkets where alcohol is for sale. So if you're around 18 or look on the younger side, you might want to carry your ID with you, but otherwise you don't really need to worry about this. Paris isn't a 24-hour kind of place. Most stores are open from 10 a.m. to 7 or 8 p.m., while bakeries are usually open at 8 a.m. and supermarkets at 9 a.m. Some independent shops only open at 11 a.m. and don't be surprised to find specialty food shops closed from few hours mid-afternoon. The currency in France is the euro, and only euros are accepted, so you can leave your dollars, pounds, or any other currency at home. You can pay by credit or debit card at most places, but not all. Some bakeries and smaller shops may have a minimum to pay by card, so that's why it's useful to have a little cash on you. So where can you get some euros? Well, you can either get some from your home bank or withdraw some at a cash machine in Paris. You shouldn't have to pay a transaction fee from your bank, and if you do, check the link in the description for the best cards without fees. If you do withdraw cash in Paris, make sure it's from a real bank. Cash machines stuck into the facade of shops in tourist areas are not attached to a real bank. These will charge you an additional fee on top of your own bank's fee, so unless it's an emergency, do not use these. So in France, waiters are paid a living wage and do not work for tips. At restaurants and bars, there's a 15% service charge that is always included in the bill, so if you leave a tip, it's not really obligatory. And actually, most French people don't leave tips. But of course, it's like they're gonna love you if you tip them. Like, who doesn't love tips? If you're taking a taxi, simply round up to the nearest euro. And if you're paying by card, you can ask the driver to add this to the total. Speaking of taxis, before we talk about the different transport options, Paris is a fantastic walking city and you do a lot of walking here, so wear comfortable shoes. Navigation apps like City Mapper and Google Maps will be a lifesaver in Paris, and even the RATP app is really good. The advantage of City Mapper is that it will tell you the best ways to get to a destination by public transport, taxis, bike or on foot, as well as the approximate cost of each option. Take public transport in Paris. Do it. It's fast, affordable, and goes everywhere. These are buses in Paris, but most people use the subway, which is called le métro. The one downside of the metro is that there aren't many escalators or elevators, and there's a lot of stairs and super long corridors. Another reason to wear those comfy shoes. Tip number 13, buying metro tickets. So when it comes to metro tickets, you can buy them via the Bonjour RATP app, which is also useful for planning your route. You can also get tickets at machines or the ticket counters in metro stations. Tip number 14, don't get an unlimited metro pass. So unless you're staying really far from the center, do not get an unlimited metro pass. Remember what I said about all that walking you'll do here? Well, you likely only use the metro a few times a day, so these passes aren't worth it. Just single tickets are good enough. 15. How to hail a taxi. So taxis in Paris always have a taxi sign on the roof, and when it's green, it's available, and when it's red, it isn't. Now, while you can flag down a passing taxi by waving your hand, you'll usually find taxis waiting at taxi stands in busier areas and at train stations. And the easiest way to get one is to book one through an app like G7, or you can use Uber, Bolt, Lyft, or any other app. Tip number 16, how to bike in Paris. So there are lots of bike lane in Paris and it can actually be the fastest way to get around the city. You can rent one via the Paris bike share system called Vélib or book an electric Lime bike via your Uber app. Before we move on to the next tip, if you're enjoying our advice so far, we have even more in our downloadable Paris 101 guide, and it goes into details on many of the tips in this video and a lot more. You can get it via the link in the description box. Oh, and did I mention that it's totally free? Now on to the next tip. Boom! 17. So Paris is divided into 20 districts called arrondissements. And if you ever want to know which arrondissement you're in, just look for a street sign. The arrondissement number is right above the street name. Tip number 18, how to find the metro. So if you're looking for the metro, there are a few different types of signs that look like this. You might also see these signs, which are for the RER, Paris suburban train. And when you want to leave a metro station, just look for the word sortie, which means exit. 19. Accommodation. There are tons of great hotels in Paris, but whatever you do, do not pick one near the Eiffel Tower or the Champs-Élysées. These areas are super expensive, they have no local life, and they're far away from most sites. Tip number 20, good central areas. If you do want to stay in a central area, but one with a little soul, consider Saint-Germain, Latin-Quartier and the Marais. You can walk to virtually everywhere from any of these locations. Around the Louvre is okay and super central, but it lacks local spirit. Tip number 21, more local and affordable. If you'd like to stay in a real local neighborhood, consider South Pigalle, the Canal Saint-Martin or the 11th. These areas are safe and still central enough, although you might need to take the metro a little more to get around. Tip number 22, best budget option, hostels. So hostels are the best options for budget travelers and there are some great ones in Paris. I suggest choosing one by the Canal Saint-Martin, Montmartre or Belleville. Although Airbnb exists in Paris, we don't recommend it for several reasons. Mainly the bad effect it has on the local housing market. And if you'd like to have a little more space or kitchen, book an apart hotel. These offer you all the conveniences of an apartment as well as the extra facilities of a hotel. Tip number 24, book in advance. Wherever you decide to stay, book in advance. Hotel prices fluctuate a lot and you don't want to be stuck paying double what you budgeted because you waited too long to book. Tip number 25, attractions. Book any must-see sites in advance. Many of Paris' top sites can be booked in advance and they can even sell out in high seasons. So if you have your heart set on visiting the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre or Versailles, don't wait. Tickets come up for sale usually 3 months in advance, so book them ASAP. Tip number 26, attractions. Free sites. So if you're traveling with kids 17 and under or are an EU passport holder under 26, entrance is free at all national museums and monuments. This includes the Louvre, Orsay, Versailles and the Arc de Triomphe, but not the Eiffel Tower. And at the museums of the city of Paris, everyone gets in for free. Number 27, food and drinks. Types of restaurants. So most people coming to Paris can't wait to try some French food. And you see a lot of cafes and places called brasseries in Paris. These are more relaxed restaurants that serve more casual food and drinks all day long. Real restaurants have a trained chef and usually more sophisticated food, but they're only open from 12 to 2:30 p.m.-ish, and then again from 7 p.m. And when you're finished eating, you can ask the waiter, l'addition s'il vous plaît, which means the bill please. While you're in Paris, don't miss out on going to bakeries. They're great for breakfast, as casual lunch or snack, and food markets are also very popular and are the perfect place to pick up picnic supplies. And if you're on a budget, these places are your best friends in Paris. So when you come to Paris, make sure to bring with you your reusable water bottle because there's plenty of fountains everywhere in Paris. And when you go to restaurants, you can ask for free tap water and you can say une carafe d'eau s'il vous plaît, a pitcher of water please. And finally, don't feel like you need to travel all over France on your first trip. There are tons of things to do in Paris as well as amazing day trips options. So you can actually see another part of France without having to pack up and move cities and hotels. Now you're ready to come to Paris, but if you'd like more helpful tips, watch our video on the biggest tourist scams in Paris and how to avoid them next. À la prochaine!